On today's episode of the Real Recovery Podcast, we launch a meaningful 6-part series honoring the founding voices, the individuals whose powerful stories helped lay the foundation for our show's mission. We begin with RRP Episode 4, featuring Colette Morrison, whose story first aired on 3/21/2024. Colette's journey, from surviving unimaginable trauma and addiction to finding freedom through recovery, is both heartbreaking and hopeful. Today, she continues to inspire not only as a powerful voice in recovery, but also as the third board member of Real Recovery Podcast, Inc., helping guide our nonprofit's vision and impact. Whether you're hearing her story for the first time or returning for a second listen, this episode is an essential reminder of what real recovery looks like.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast. I'm Julie, your co-host, on this journey of healing and transformation. Together with my co-host, Peter, we dive into the heart of recovery, sharing stories that resonate with courage and inspiration.
That's right, Julie. Each episode is a new chapter in this vast narrative of recovery, and we're honored to bring them to you. But keep in mind the perspectives you'll hear are for informational purposes only and may not reflect the views of the podcast or our partners.
Indeed, while these conversations can be a powerful part of your recovery toolkit, they are not substitute for professional medical advice. We encourage you to seek guidance from your healthcare provider for any treatment-related decisions.
And if you're facing an immediate crisis, or if you just need to talk to someone who understands, don't hesitate to call the Recovery Crisis Line at 503-223-8569. That number is also on our website. Help is available 24/7.
Now let's begin our episode
Of recovery, real recovery. Yeah, so many of the things that I worried about other people thinking, nobody, either they already knew, they were like even when I was, because I didn't come out gay until I was 24. And I came out I was like, sweating and nervous and like, okay, I got something to tell you. And they're like, we knew that years ago.
we could have told you. We're waiting for you to tell us.
And the same with the drinking. But we figured that one out. It was when I was in my college days and everybody partied. So you could hide that you drank because, Peter just gets the parties a little harder than the rest until you get older. And then all of a sudden we were able to stop and put our wine glass half full on the table and leave. And I'm like looking at that wine glass going, would they notice if I grabbed it?
Right? For a while, it didn't even matter. I'd walk around the bar just grabbing people's drinks.
Really? Yeah, I believe it. I believe that I get to that. I would spill and I would get on my hands and knees. How degrading.
No. Same.
Because I was like, that's it, my last
That's
drink.
so funny. I just started sharing about that.
Really?
I just started sharing about that.
I wouldn't drink off someone else's glass. That's nasty.
Whatever.
We were at that point.
We were there.
I understand. I get it completely. I would do different things, just not those things. So I understand.
Yeah, it's that. I don't know how to even describe. It's like a voice in your head that's just
Thank you for telling me that, because I did. I sucked vodka.
Yeah. I did out counters. I did out the floor. How degrading. How far do you have to be to do that? And that wasn't even at my bottom.
No, exactly.
I do degrading things too, just not that. I'd freak out about the cooties.
Yeah.
That's the only good thing about being an IV drug user, about being freaked out about cooties. I never used anything dirty or from anyone else. I was like schizo about it. It's one of the biggest blessings. Amen.
Yeah, it probably saved you from getting some kind of disease or...
I went to Big Sam and told them I needed a clean syringe. And I said, would you rather me use a dirty one? And they literally let me go to the pharmacy and get clean syringes.
Didn't they give you like a 50-pack or something like that?
I bought 1,200 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I never got high with the one that I mixed the dope with. I used two, one to do and then transferred it. I was schizo for real. And plus I had to get a different thing because it's so hard to find a vein. I had to get a different gauge than most drug addicts used. Yeah, it was crazy
Did
shit.
you have a baby gauge?
I had an ultra fine one, and then it left less bruises as well. And it was like just crazy.
Did you ever, was it always in your arm, or did you ever use like between the finger or the toes, or, people?
So I didn't like marks on my arm. So after Colleen and I broke up, I was very particular where I shot up. So the average person couldn't see it. Mostly my hand or in my foot.
How in your foot?
Yeah,
too?
because I wanted to look like college All-American that went to Lewis and Clark, like long blonde curls and pleated skirt. Like that's how I got in and out of hotels, not looking like a hoe. Looking like I literally went to Lewis and Clark. So, yeah. But yeah, it was all, I tanned every day. I
did too.
I used to get my nail polish.
Me too.
I used to get my nail polish changed almost every day. I had a standing appointment, not to get them done, but get the polish changed so it would match that. I was obsessed.
For me, the tanning and the trying to keep the weight off, like you don't know now, but I used to be, I had a good physique. I could look back at those pictures.
That was the attraction. That was major attraction for me to meth. Was literally two things. Was I kept losing weight, which I never got skinny. I looked good. And people tell me, God, you look good. It wasn't you looked sucked up. My face, I looked like a bobblehead because my head didn't get really any smaller. I'm not joking, but that and the weight and what was the other thing? Oh, I could stay awake late to answer the phones for the escort service because the escort service doesn't get busy until the bars start to close.
And I used to snort cocaine so I could drink more.
There you go. I tried to figure out what I could do to do that too, because I had to drink. So I was trying to figure out, I almost went into harder drugs to do it.
I used to sell meth to guys that drank. They'd come literally to the city nightclub just to get a quarter so they could go out and party for the rest of the night.
And with my appearance, I felt that if I looked good, no one would know that I felt like shit.
And my mama wouldn't know. She literally did not know because when I went to see her, I was perfect. Literally, when I got out of prison, they said she's going to this place. And she was like, why can't she come home? And they were like, she has a drug habit. And she's Julie. Yeah, I never fucked off in Beaverton. I've never been in jail in Washington County. I've never gone to any of her friends' establishment. I was more scared of my mom than the police. Yeah.
Before we go too far, I want to introduce who we're here with. Of course, Julie, my co-host, and I'm Peter with the Real Recovery Podcast. And we're here with Colette M., who's our guest today. And we're going to chit chat and hear a little bit about her story and recovery, strength, and hope. And perhaps someone listening will get something out of this that will help them on their journey to recovery. So
can I tell you, I'm really excited about this one. I'm more excited than most. Colette has taught me a lot, just so you know. She taught me how to open my heart to the newcomer. I was with her the first night. She went to our meeting, and I was shocked, to say the least, when you hear this story. And she kept showing up, and I started to count the days with her. And it's built a really great friendship. And she has taught me more with my years of sobriety than most people with major sobriety. And I've opened my heart in other ways that I probably never would have. So I'm really excited to have her with us today.
Yeah, I'm excited because I feel like we share a very similar in the way we drank. She shared her story and I was like, oh my God, that's so me. That's exactly what I did. The vodka, parts of the story, parts of it you'll hear and I'll hear for the first time. So I'm excited to hear about those too. Welcome, Colette.
Peter's no big build-up.
Oh yeah, no build. Just we're relaxed here.
We're amongst friends, family.
Yeah. And we've already been talking a bit, so just continue the conversation. I met you at the club, but I don't remember how long you've been going to the lunch bunch.
Since December 31st, 2022. No, yeah, December 31st, 2022.
Okay.
My sobriety date is 12/15/22. And a friend of mine I met in the psych unit, and there's a story behind that one.
We want to hear it.
Well, okay.
You start where you
I'm going to start at the beginning and just gloss over. And please, if I go too deep, just you may want to put trigger warning.
Yeah, there you go.
With my story, I am one of 6 kids. I was raised by a pedophile pimp and an alcoholic mother who died of cirrhosis of the liver. Us kids were feral. The neighbors would come and get us and give us fabs because we didn't have water. We didn't have electric. One point, we were taken away from our parents. And okay, so crazy childhood. And I had my first drink. I believe I was 6 years old. My father was giving me Valium 10s at night, put me to sleep so he can bless me. It didn't work. I stayed awake for it. And so 6-year-old Colette needed to drink. I needed a drink. And drinking for a long time was the solution for me. So at some point, us kids got separated. I remember like my sister, my oldest sister, pushing us out of the window, trying to get away from the social workers who were trying to take us into foster care. And getting out of the pimp, pedophile, alcoholic mother environment and into a foster home that is religious, that is all the external stuff, and still being molested. And this happened with the deacon of the church. And it just seems every male figure that was in my life before I was 12 needed to have sex with me. So alcohol worked because it needed to skew my reality. Had I not drank at that young age, and I'm not saying that's why I'm an alcoholic, had I not drank at that young age, I'd be sitting in a psych unit somewhere sucking my thumb and drooling
Yeah.
in the corner.
It took you away from the reality.
Right. It glossed over the reality. So when I was 13 years old, I was in a pageant, junior Miss. So fast forward, I'm out of that situation. I'm back at my father's house and he is molesting us in just toxic, just horrific time. And I entered this pageant called Junior Miss Black Oregon and I ended up winning it. And part of winning that was I got to dance on stage with Marvin Gaye. To God to Give It Up. We're the first, second, and third runner-ups. Got to dance back as backup dancers for that song.
Oh.
I remember coming home that night thinking that was the greatest night of my life, and my father beating the dog shit out of me. I had dropped off in a limousine. It was magic. Like I was at the Coliseum on stage with Marvin Gaye, and my father beat the dog shit out of me and then raped me. And then at some point, I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran away. I became a runaway. The foster system kept trying to put me into homes. I'd run away. They put me in a girls' home. And this is all in the 70s. There was no calling 911 on your parents back then. I would show up at school with welts from extension cords, from Hot Wheel tracks, we're going to get through this part real quick. So what ended up happening when I finally got free of my father, I ran away and he focused his attention on my baby sister. And he ended up getting my baby sister pregnant. And I remember her having to get an abortion. I remember all of us kids in one room testifying against him. And the bottom line was that he was sent to prison with the stipulation that he could never come back to Oregon again. I never saw him again after that. Never. One of the things that happened out of me being in that pageant was I had a friend and I told her everything that was going on in my life. And she went and talked to her mom and then took me over there. And I will never forget this woman. She said, "You're not going back to that." She said, "You're not going back to that." And her name was Margaret. And this woman had 6 daughters and 2 sons. And she was not a foster parent. She wasn't any official capacity. She just knew that I was wounded and I needed some kind of direction. I needed some love. And I would do things like I would stay out past curfew. I'd be smoking weed. I'd be just running around, driving around in Cadillacs with my pimp friends, just, crazy. And she'd be like, Coco, you could stop. I'm like, what are you talking about? You could stop now because I'm not going to not love you. And that was the very first time I ever had unconditional, healthy love. And she taught me morals, and she taught me values, and she taught me standards. She taught me, you're supposed to clean your belly button out. I didn't know. Who was there to teach me? She literally saved my life. And she just passed away 2 years ago, and I was able to go hang out with her and play music and just hang out. So in 1980, I had a little baby girl. And I was scared out of my mind. And I told the dad, and he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, we're going to have Carmen. He said, what? I said, yeah, we're having Carmen. And I knew that was going to be my daughter, and I knew that was going to be her name. And that's the very first time that I started looking at my drink as being an issue, as being, oh my God, I'm going to be my mother if I don't start doing something. So I went to my very first AA meeting at the Live and Let Live Club. That was when it was in lower Southeast. And I sat there and I cried and I kept coming back, and I'd be drunk and I'd be crying and I'd be drunk and I'd be crying because I didn't know how to not drink. I just didn't want my daughter to have what I had. Foster homes, abuse, all of that. Needless to say, that started my journey to recovery. I wasn't able to stay sober. I would get a year, I would relapse. I would get 6 months, I would relapse. I remember one time my daughter, she knew that I was sober, and I remember her literally chasing me down the street, screaming, Mommy, no, Mommy, you're doing so good. And me just pushing her and getting to the store to get the alcohol because it's too much. It was too much. A lot of the things that I had gone through in my life, I was unhealed. I was a broken woman. And the only thing that I can say for sure that I know is that I know I was not the perfect parent, but I was nothing. I did the very best I could. Where do I go now? Okay, so
I think you tell them how you got there this time.
okay.
Thank you for sharing that first part. And I don't want to cry. I knew about your dad and whatnot, but not all of it. And you're a miracle. Oh my God. And luckily what you dealt with at a younger age, it took me till 56, almost 57.
Yeah. So fast forward, in and out of the rooms, chronic relapser. And then in the 90s, something magic happened. I went to East County and got a sponsor. And
So
my
Cedar Wood.
sponsor, yes, that's why, at the ABC group. And I got a sponsor, and I never stopped trying, even though I couldn't stay sober. I never stopped trying. And that was the commitment I made to my daughters, that I would never stop trying, that I would always try and stay sober. In the 90s, I got a sponsor. I was East County, going to ABC group, going to conventions for the first time. We'd all fellowship afterwards, like the first barbecue of the season. That was massive. Somebody's house we would just like swarm in on somebody's house in somebody's backyard with the grill, and we would just fellowship. We fellowshipped a lot, and it kept me sober. It kept me sober doing the steps. It kept me sober trying my very best to be authentic. And authenticity for me is, who am I when nobody's looking? Who am I when it's just me, but naked in front of God, just me and God? And I try and live that way. But so fast forward, I'm secretarying. I have 3.5 years sober. And here's the cunning, baffling, powerful part of this disease. I secretaried the meeting at lunch bunch. I counted the money, closed the church up, got in my car, went to the liquor store, went home and got drunk. The book talks about cunning, baffling, powerful. I don't know where that came from. I was doing all the things. I was happy, joyous, and free. I had a dream job working with another person in recovery who was my boss. And I was in a really good relationship. Things were good. There wasn't like this, oh my God, no, there was no desperation drinking. It was like, fuck it. Sorry, fuck it. I don't know if you want to edit that out, but.
Nope, this is real life.
And what happened for me, what brought me where I am today is, I was drinking a lot and I had already done cocaine in the 80s. So I knew I liked cocaine. But then I met a woman and she introduced me to crack. And I had always had this prejudice against crack cocaine.
Cheap man's cocaine.
Yeah.
That's what crack always was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she and I broke up. And by that time, I had my own guy. I'd have my own hustle to get it. Not saying anything about anybody else, but I never sold my body for it. I never cheated anybody for it. I never lied to get it, but I did it a lot. And the last 2 years of my youth, my grandson was living with me. He's 23 now. My grandson was living with me. I was drinking up to a half a gallon of vodka every day. I was smoking copious amount of crack every day for 2 years, every single day. And every night I'd be like, God, my heart, this is not what I want. This is literally on my knees crying that I wanted to stop. The night before I'd be like, the crack would be gone because I cut it off by midnight because I wasn't going to be one of those. So I cut it off around midnight and then I would just drink until I passed out and I'd be on my knees drunk, praying, saying, I don't want this. I don't want to die like my mother did. I don't want my daughter to find my body with the crack pipes and the empty bottles and the chaos that was my home. I didn't want it. And I'd pass out. The last thought would be, fuck this. I'm not going out like this. So the next morning, though, I'd wake up and I'd be like, I wonder if it's too early to call him. And I wonder if I saved enough from the night before so that I could get to the liquor store without having the shits. So I couldn't get an hour clean. I could not stay clean for 1 hour. And towards the end, it wasn't something that I was having fun with. It wasn't something that was, no, it was hell. And during this time, there's a detox unit that I went to 5 times trying to get sober. My friend, who has 32 years now, took me each time. And she'll tell you to this day that one time I blew a 5 and then another time I blew a 6. Yeah. And then went home and got drunk once I sobered up. So the last time that I went to this detox unit, it's a detox/psych unit. And she told me, I'm calling her on the phone. I'm like, you wouldn't believe this nurse told me. One of these patients told me, she's Colette, you are not there for those people. You will never. She's always just giving it to me straight, no chaser. She said, you won't even know these people in 3 months. She said, why don't you stay there? Because each time I'd get there and the fog would lift and I'd be like, oh, I know what to do. I'll go to East County. I'll get a sponsor. I'll work the steps. I'll do a lot of fellowship and be at the GSR. And I knew how to talk the talk.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you come around the rooms for a long time. Like I could recite how it works verbatim. So I learned the language of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that almost killed me because each time my doctor would be like, I am so proud of you. You're going to do great. Okay, bye. Hope I never see you again. 2 or 3 months later, and I'm back in the same position. So Terry told me, why don't you stay there? Because you're safe there. And you haven't felt safe in a very long time. And why don't you stay there? Because you can breathe. And you haven't been breathing for a very long time. And I agreed to stay there. I went and told my doctor, do not let me out of here. Don't let me go. No matter what I say, unless I'm safe here. And unless you can find me another safe place to go to, I don't want to leave here. Fortunately, my insurance kept me there as long as I needed to. I ended up staying in the psych unit for 16 days in order to get to my next safe place. And it was, I think, like on a Tuesday, and the doctor told me, we found your place. You're going to leave on Thursday. And I was like, okay. I didn't say, where is this place? Is it inpatient, outpatient? Is it? And then I didn't ask any questions about it. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was that I trusted my doctor who was in recovery. And my doctor said that he found a safe place for me to be. So they switched out my clothes from my hospital garb. And I still have what are they called?
The gowns.
No, it's the pants and the shirt. The scrubs.
Yeah.
That says psych on it. They switched out my clothes and they put me in a cab and they took me to this place in Beaverton. And I'm just going to say the name because the place saved my life. They took me to a place called Another Chance. God knows I needed another chance. I just needed one more chance, just one more chance. I went there and I did an intake with the kindest man in the world. And we talked for 3 hours. And I told this man everything. I dabbled a little bit on what my life has been like, but I told this man everything. I had never told anyone everything. And they were like, okay, so here's what I think would help is if you come here, partial hospitalization. We want you to come 5 days a week, 5.5 hours a day. And yeah. So mind you, I live in Northeast Portland. The place is in Beaverton. I've never been, and I don't have a car. So my first day there, so I did my intake. I went home. I looked at my house and I was like, oh my God. Immediately started cleaning all of the bottles and the pipes and all of that out of the house. But the next morning I went and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be there at 9:30. And so I leave my house at 8:00. I get on the bus and I'm following this map thing. I'm still loopy. I get on the bus and then I get on the Max and then I'm running late because I get off the bus too soon. And then I get off at the wrong Max station and I'm calling them and I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to start today. It's I'm going to be like 10 minutes late. And they're like, it's okay. Just get here when you can. So finally, I'm like 40 minutes late. I call them to tell them I'm just going to go home. I can't do this. Thank you, but no thank you. And the person who answered the phone, he's like, where are you at? I said, I am in tears by now. And I'm going to send somebody for you. He's, never mind. I'm going to come get you. So I'm like, and he came and he picked me up. And he wasn't like, boy, that must have been a rough time for you to have to go through all of that just to. Now we start talking about his shoe collection is bigger than his wife's, and he's got every Jordan. We're just kicking it, right?
Man after my heart.
So I get into group, and I'm still crying, and that's another thing. I cried a lot. I still cry a lot, but I really cried a lot in early recovery.
Me too.
Yeah. So I get into group, and I'm like, and they're like, do you know who there was who picked you up? And I said, I don't know. He's my transportation angel. And they said, no, that's the owner CEO of the company.
Wow.
That's the level of care that I was given. It felt like it was divine intervention that this place found me.
Yeah.
I did not find this place. This place found me.
Do you think that's a higher power looking out for you?
I know it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
I know it is.
It's crazy you don't know it at the time, but when you think about all the God shots at the end, stuff doesn't happen by accident. It's truly a miracle. So many different miracles that's amazing.
Yeah. So I went to the treatment center and I knew I had to find AA. And I had a friend who I was in the psych unit with who was told AA is religion. And I know this is not a AA podcast, but that just happens to be where I'm at.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's a recovery podcast.
He was told that AA was religion and that he was trans and he was going to burn in hell and you're just going to just die a drunk. And so we decided we were going to hang out on New Year's Eve. We're going to hang out on New Year's Eve and because we're not going to be the sober white knuckling in. We're going to have fun on New Year's Eve. So he picks me up. And we went downtown to a candy store, spent like $30. We're like 4-year-olds with good credit in this candy store. We bought like $30, $40 worth of candy. And we went to McDonald's. We just were making it a fun day for each other. And I had already Googled LGBTQ groups and I knew that there was a noon meeting. And I knew that there was a 6:00 meeting. So I was like, we're dinking around, it's New Year's Eve. And I said, I could really use a meeting. And he, of course, being the good friend that he is, I will support you. I will go to one of these meetings and we will get you through this hard time. And he came to AA with me. And do you know this kid just celebrated a year?
That's awesome.
He just celebrated a year. And my first experience with finding Live and Let Live and or extended family lunch bunch. I met a guy there who gave the best hugs and really took an interest in me. I wasn't just some faceless person sitting in a room. I mattered. Whether I came back mattered to this person. And he is. And he gave me his phone number and then took my number down. And then a little while later texted me gave us the schedule. And I really felt, okay, that was the best welcome I could have gotten. And fast forward, I'm doing my best. I'm staying sober. Now I have a meeting. Now I have somebody's phone number. I'm determined now that I've gotten off of gotten that monkey off of my back.
Okay.
Then one night I was at home and I'm like, I have no food. I'm on the bus and I'm like, I have no food. I have to get to the grocery store. So I'm going to the grocery store and I get off the bus at one of the stops and there's 2 people smoking crack at the bus stop. I freaked. And so I called the guy. I'm like, okay, you guys do the video thing, right? And he's, yeah, we have Zoom. I said, okay, so the video thing, do I have to talk? And he says, no, you don't have to talk. Do I have to say my name? Do I have to show my face? And he's, no. I said, because I had to get groceries, but there's people smoking crack around me and I'm falling apart. And he said, no, here, look at your text. I'm sending you a link. You just click on that. And I said, what's the zones? He said, just click on the link. Luckily, it was at the 6:00 meeting and I don't remember a whole lot. I don't remember who shared
all of it from that night. She literally, this is the night I met her and I thought she was the craziest person ever. Because she said, I just need you guys to come in the Safeway with me. The personal items are in the same aisle as the wine aisle. And I was like, and she would just come in full blast from her phone, just randomly. And I'm trying to turn it off, but will you go shopping with me? And then she goes on mute. Then she'd be like, are you still with me? And it would just be in the middle of something. And I was like, this crazy bee, for real. And then she was like, somebody called on her. And she's, you want me to talk? It's my time. Okay, I'm almost done. And literally, she told about the people smoking and that she told basically that she had just gotten to treatment center coming from the psych ward and that she needed a safe place to be that night while she was shopping. And it was her first time coming to our meeting. And I thought,
So you had the Zoom on your phone while you were shopping.
in
to
the
help you get.
grocery cart.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
In
Look
the
at
grocery
it, and
cart.
it just kept coming in and out. She'd hit the button, she'd go out. And I was like, oh my Lord. I really was. I was astonished. The first time anyone had taken me grocery shopping in a meeting at night via Zoom. And
that's what she remembers. Can I tell you what I remember? All I remember was that I was safe.
when she
And
made
I
it home.
heard recovery in my ear, and I knew I didn't have to do it alone.
Right.
All I remember was the calm, loving, nurturing voices of Alcoholics Anonymous.
We told her to come back the next night. I just remember like 10 of us because she was so, no offense, but out there, right? In this different environment. And we were like, we'll see you tomorrow night. And she was like, yeah, this is going to be part of my routine. I'll see you tomorrow night. And literally the next night, I waited for her to get there to see if she showed back up. And literally every night she'd show up and she would change the number of days that she had sober.
That's awesome.
And the first person, when they said the meeting is open, Colette would share. It was like the sun rising. Or the sun. No, it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how I met her. And then I literally started counting her days with her. It was insane. Like I wanted it. The one time she didn't show up, I don't remember how many days. I was like, where are you? Are you okay? And she had something she had to do or something. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fully bought in.
It makes you feel good when others miss you.
Yes.
I never done that before though, with a newcomer, ever. In the past, newcomers scared me. I didn't ever want to be weak around them. I never went around anybody. I still don't go around anybody actively using. I always say, if you're relapsing, don't call me. Call me before you relapse. Otherwise, I'll see you in a meeting. And just don't put myself in those positions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I started counting my days. The reason I started counting my days is in honor of me not being able to stay sober for an hour.
Mm.
So that's where the time counting started. I know that some people, it doesn't matter what other people think, but I know a lot of people think that I'm like, ooh, look at me. I have blah, blah, blah.
No, the program's about you, not about what others think about you.
Right.
So-
I have to tell you, I don't think the nighttime group thought that at all. I'm just being honest. I think we were right there with you. And when you made it to 30 days, I think we were so happy for you. Because I literally then went to a meeting on the weekend in person. I don't know if I was chairing that meeting or maybe the next one, but I went there with you to get your coin.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave you my standard gift. So you stay clean.
Yes.
That's a good job.
Now she has a candle because she likes it.
I was going to say, but for most people, it's just soap.
It's just
and this was Bed Bath & Beyond though. So yeah, I was insane, alcoholic,
Yeah.
untreated. And so I'm going to outpatient. I'm going to meetings. These are becoming my routine.
Could you do me a
Somewhere in
favor?
there.
Not to interrupt. Because, and I'm just going to be honest with the people, I thought you were full of shit. I thought she was full of shit about where she lived. And she'd be like, what's a grocery center outside my front door? Okay.
Yeah, it's Fred Meyer's one-stop shopping.
And you can
I
get
know.
crack, you can get whatever you want. And I was like, okay. Because I lived in a challenged neighborhood.
Yeah.
But tell them where you lived.
MLK in Fargo, which is next to a do-it-yourself car wash. So each stall at night would become crack, meth, heroin,
Wow.
fentanyl, whatever.
Yeah.
Each stall had their own.
I literally took her home from a meeting, and it was like New Jack City, the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. The guy pulls up in the 4x4, hands a bag of dope out to the person. This lady with no teeth, who was maybe 95 pounds, and her skin was the worst skin I've seen, walks in front of my car. And she's locked your door. And I'm like, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
it was
And that's
more
the
than what
environment that
she
you're trying to
described.
stay clean in.
And she
Yes.
has to
Yeah.
go through it every night to get to her house. People picking up the windows. It was
It's like being a diabetic and working in a candy store.
Exactly.
that's the best explanation. But it was, if you saw it on a video, it would be part of a documentary.
Yeah.
But you've moved on, I think, right?
I'm getting to my blessings.
Okay.
I'm going to get out of the mess in a minute. So yeah, I'm going to treatment every day. I'm going to meetings. I am not drinking. I'm counting my days, and I'm going crazy because I'm untreated. Treatment, my humble opinion, treatment can help you stay sober. They're really good at that.
They can keep you.
So I couldn't stay sober just by going to treatment
Sure.
because I knew that the steps worked. I didn't, and anyways, I ended up getting I was online being my crying, crazy self, and someone reached out to me and offered to be my sponsor. And I said, would you walk me through the 12 steps? And he had never had a sponsee before. So we grew together. Yeah. And just since
Perfect
then,
hair.
since it, can I share just one more part of the mess, and then I'm going to go into my blessings?
Hey, by all means.
So part of my treatment was how they have the goodbye letter.
Oh,
They had me do a goodbye letter to my choice as treatment. Everybody who's ever gone to treatment has done the goodbye letter. You were my lover for so long.
oh yeah. I had something
Yeah.
to talk to my bottle of vodka, so then I wrote to my bottle of vodka.
Right?
I seriously did.
I was pissed off at the level that I had gotten, where I'm dropping alcohol on the ground and sucking up vodka, the places that it took me spiritually. And my goodbye letter was like, dear crack and vodka, fuck you. You are not worth my self-respect. You are not worth, and I just went down a whole list. I just free wrote. You are not worth my relationship with my grandchildren. You are not worth none of it. None of it. And I keep that on my wall as I'm walking out the door. I keep that list. And behind that list, I put a picture of myself. I put a picture of myself from the day that I started outpatient treatment. So that every time I look out the window, every time I walk out the door, that's what I got to remember.
Yeah.
And when I feel like drinking and when I feel like using, I have to look at that picture and realize that's the woman who wants to get drunk and loaded. That's not who I am right now. And a lot of people would think where I come from and where I've been is that I'm a victim. And I'm not. I'm free. I'm free from all of that.
Yeah.
I don't ever have to drink again, even if I want to. There have been times where I wanted to drink.
Yeah.
And I don't have to, even if I want to. And there's no way to explain that more than just like the night before, I'll be like, I want to have a drink. Oh, here it is. I want to have a drink. And I'll sit through that. My famous thing was eat a bowl of cereal and take my little happy ass to sleep. So
Yeah, if you want to read it, you found it there.
I found it. Dear Vodka and Crack, you are not worth my sobriety. You're not worth my relationship with my family. You're not worth my new friendships. You're not worth my peace of mind. You're not worth any humiliation I'd feel if I gave in. You're not worth my self-respect. You're not worth the community. You are not worth the respect of my peers. You are not worth another trip to the psych unit. You are not worth my ability to look people in their eyes. You are not worth my sobriety date. You are not worth my sanity. You are not worth my life, not dying, but living in misery. How dare you try to constantly try and tell me that you're the solution?
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. So now to the good part. And then I'm done. Since I've been sober, I've had so many things. Like I always say, is it odd or is it God? Initially, I had the hardest time finding a higher power just based on my childhood and my life prior to coming into recovery. Because they said the God of my understanding. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, thanks, God. So I had to come up with my own attribute of what a higher power would mean to me.
That took me a long time to get. So I wanted to bring that up. So I'm glad you're talking about it now.
Yeah. And for a long time, I couldn't say God or higher power. I could only say my attributes. So I wasn't going to give it that name. But like my attributes are kind, loving, nurturing, only wants the very best for me, has my back no matter what. Like the best friend that I could imagine having that would never hurt me. And whoever that was that my preconceived notions or the God that I prayed to as a child, it's reconciled now. It's reconciled because it wasn't God that was having that happen to me. It was humans that were doing it to me.
Yeah, there you go.
So
I like how you phrased that.
Took me a minute to get there. I was like, I believed in God wholeheartedly, going to a Catholic school. I went to church regularly, but I thought for a long time, if there is a God, why would he let this happen to me? And I agree with you. It's humans that did it and not him. But it took me a second to get there. And
yeah, I think we all have our own.
Yeah, God is in AA, and that's the program that I'm in, and we're in. And it's also used in a lot of other, but it's so old school. And so I think that stops a lot of people. I know it hampered me in my journey. It was hard to get beyond that. So I think talking about, you gave it attributes. You said, I like how you put, it was humans, not him, who did this to me. And for me, God thought, because I'm gay, that were in my upbringing, in my church and in my family, it was you're evil, you're perverted, and so if you feel that way, you're going to go to hell if you're that kind of person. For me in AA, every time I came to the God part, I was like, no, not my God. It took me a long time to replace that with what I now hold in my heart, which is spirit. It's a spirituality that I hold as my higher power and nature and all
I wasn't
that.
able to do that at first.
Yeah.
Literally. I was able to do, my first high power was the parole officer. And my second literally was, I was able to turn it over to the group because I began to trust the group. And GOD, group of drunks, is what worked. It took 10 years.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I never thought of that.
And for me, for me, gift of desperation.
Oh,
that's a good one too. Yeah.
I was desperate.
Hey, if you're listening, we just gave you 2 really good ones.
Oh, so I'm living in Crack Central in the drug-infested neighborhood, New Texas, New York City. And I knew I needed to get out of there, but I knew that no one was going to come rescue me. Actually, somebody really did. We had a housing coordinator that worked in our apartment buildings, and she called me downstairs. She says, you get over there right now. You fill out this application and take your $45 and get into that apartment. They're brand new and you need to get out of here. And all my life, I've had little angels that pop into my life and just.
But you hustled and you did it though.
Yeah.
Where some people, we know, we won't mention any names because it's a program of anonymity, literally were homeless at the time, and I had to push them in that door where she went, and then she prayed for days until she got her acceptance.
They called me. They're like, okay, start packing. I'm like, no.
So exciting.
That took me from living where I was living in purgatory, and I now live in a mansion. It's a renovated mansion. Literally, the facade is still the mansion. They just went inside and gutted everything out and made brand new central air 1-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments that are affordable.
Apartment is brand new. No one ever sat on the toilet seat before her or in the shower. Like, it's decent. And across from her and on her street are $1 million houses. Okay. It's in a bougie neighborhood and you don't see drug addiction, beautiful houses and manicured lawns. Talk about the difference. I'm not scared to drop her off anymore. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you have to come around
It's got a circle too that I can get in and out of instead of maybe getting
circular
shot.
drive in front of the mansion. I don't even know where to go
Well, it's
from
like the
here.
promises. We talk about the promises, and that there sounds like one of the promises coming true for you. The promises are, if you do the work and you follow the program, you will get
There's a program
the
of action.
rewards. Yeah.
That's why they tell you not to sit on your laurels, which I thought was like one of the dumbest sentences in the whole world. Seriously, laurels. Who talks about laurels, right? I'm just saying, but it's absolutely true. But they're just saying don't sit on your ass in a polite and professional 1936 way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Colette, I'll just tell you, then proceeded to do all the steps. And the apartment was just one of her first miracles.
Yeah, and I really want to, because I think a lot of people come in the program, they hear the promises and they don't understand where those start happening for people. Because I was like on step 2 and I'm like, why am I so financially insecure? How come I don't know what's in?
I said the same
This
thing.
stuff is still baffling me. Why can't I figure it out? And because it is a program of action, those are the 9th step promises. And those happen right after you start making some amends, start changing your ways, have already talked to somebody about everything about yourself. My sponsor knows more than the therapist that did my intake. Yeah.
So does
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
Literally. I've had the hardest conversations with my sponsor, like your story, but my sponsor was molested too. And so he makes it so easy to talk about where I'm not in tears. He's girl and you just feel part of instead of outside. And
And I need to say too, as far as that, like I did a lot of therapy. So if it's something that feels raw right now, if you're hearing this and it feels really raw or it feels like it's really big, because I go deep, get
it
help.
did to me.
Get help.
Just so you know, that's where I told you I learned a lot and you were courageous to me. When I met you, I hadn't gone through IOP yet. And if you remember, St. Vincent's turned me down and I went to the parking lot and called you in tears. I called you and then I went to Al's house and had breakfast. And you told me to try Cedar Hills, that they would let me in. And literally because I wasn't suicidal and I had recovery, St. Vincent said I wasn't sick enough. And sick enough can be determined in many ways. And I think holding a secret for 56 years is pretty darn sick or pretty darn scared.
Yeah.
And what you let out so easily, which is where I tell you I learned from you, I didn't. Maybe too much pride, maybe too much ego, maybe my daughter was so important. I didn't want it to reflect on my parenthood. You saying you did the best you can also makes me know my mom, who was an alcoholic, who I blamed for so many years. It wasn't until last year. I know she did the best she could too, sending me to a private school, a lot of things. I just thought she didn't want me around.
I think that it comes up when it's safe to come up.
Exactly. I agree.
I don't think that
It wasn't
if it
time.
wasn't safe for you yet, it just wasn't time yet.
I
And
agree.
there's no explanation for that.
I think I also had to be sober for a long time to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
They say there's only 18% of us that are successful, that have had a childhood like us. 18%. That's not very good odds. The rest of us end up in prison or dead or...
And the psych unit.
Yes. Yeah. And I just started there. I've been in therapy for 13 months. But yeah, it was your journey was the beginning of my new journey. I tell you this all the time. It wasn't until you came into the program that I let myself become a newcomer again. And it wasn't about sobriety. It was about mind. I was lucky to have the sobriety.
The mind has a beautiful way of protecting us. A beautiful way of protecting us.
And there's things I remember now that I've only remembered for a year since my breakdown.
Yeah.
I know for me, because of the alcohol and the drinking, all of those feelings that I had kept getting repressed further and further down. I didn't love myself. And that's another thing we used to always say, we're going to love you until you love yourself. And I'm still not sure if I 100% love myself.
Right.
I love a lot more of me than I used to, but I hated myself really. And I hate that person that I saw as myself. And it was almost like two different people. There was the drinker, Peter, and then there was that little boy inside. For me, mainly it was just alcohol. I played with some other things, other different drugs, but really alcohol, vodka was it was my escape. It made me feel strong. It made me feel accepted. And it hit all of those fears about myself that I didn't want to accept or recognize. So it's a little bit different than what you guys went through, but the same use.
The very same use. That first drink in the morning wasn't like, no, it was like,
yes. Exactly. Yeah.
And I can say that in a room full of alcoholics and they'd be like, exactly. Yep.
I understand it as well, just from the drug point of view. And what's crazy for me is that I literally, and this is really true for me, never remembered the bad stuff for years. Even years after I was sober. It took a minute. I didn't even remember it. Like you said, your brain protects you or whatever. And I was lucky because I was able to be a good mom and climb up the corporate ladder, and probably would have had a breakdown in between then, if not. And I'm lucky. I'm so lucky.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and with our audience. I really think I know every meeting I've ever gone to and everybody who's ever shared, not just the person who's sharing, but the group, I'll hear something. There's somebody, at the very least, one person will say something. I'm like, oh, I get that. I click with that. And so that's the hope, is that somebody will get something from our...
I think your research to get where you are now, right? There's some things that our audience doesn't know. Your daughter said she would never talk to you again. You saw her and you do speak with her. I think you're an example to your grandson. And I think you came to our meeting at a time, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, it was perfect time.
Yeah. We go to the meetings for ourselves because we're in trouble. We don't realize how much we also help others.
And see, I couldn't see that. All I knew was I was coming in hot.
She was in a safe place.
I was like, boom, landed.
I don't think we can get that until later, that someone will come up to you and say, that has 30 years, and they'll say, God, I really liked we had a guy share in the previous meeting. He was stumbling and stuttering and stuff. And this old timer says, I love that you were up there and raw, but you weren't just reading from a script, basically, because it reminds us of it reminded him of where he was. And I felt the same way. I was like, oh yeah, because, you get up in front of a group and it's fear. I'm scared. I'm scared to death.
Peter chairs tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I think fear is something that I've been mulling over in preparation for that. But it is something I look back and reflect on my journey, and it's every little thing I did was fear-based. It all had some kind of fear-base to it.
And we know the acronym for fear, right?
What is it?
Fuck everything and run.
Fuck everything and run, or face everything and recover.
Or false evidence appear and real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything and run was me. It was that fight or flight. It was flight, always flight. And that's drinking took me away from everything. That was my flight, put me in an unreality, but my reality.
Mm-hmm.
I had some real fantasies during that time. I'll tell you about how great I was oh man, if I could have a camera and look at what I would look like when I thought I was all that. I'm glad we didn't have cameras and cell phones back in my day.
Oh, I have pictures. Actually, I got some really good pictures.
That's some good pictures too.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. I had all kinds of apprehension. I was up till 3:00 this morning. I was going to call and cancel. And I'm so glad that I did this. I really am. And I just want to reiterate that if you haven't done any of this, if this is anything that's new for you, hearing my story,
That's why we did it.
please get help.
We're hoping there's someone in the car that's scared. And literally by listening to our stories, because they're all very different, that they get the courage to go to their safe place. And for me to go to a gay men's meeting and be accepted and loved, and I didn't trust nobody when I went. And for Peter, he had gotten sobriety, but he didn't feel at home until he got to our meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the token rainbow flag in East County also.
Yeah. And you touched on that a little bit. Feeling comfortable with the group that you're with, for me, was so important. And I think has hampered others getting or staying sober, because you think that, for me, I went to ECAC. I was like, well, this is it. This is how it is. And they're a lot more conservative. And I felt that I couldn't share openly my full story. And so those out there who feel that way, the turnoffs, God, the religion, it's a big turnoff for a lot of people. Being too conservative or being too by the book. There's a lot of meetings that are very rigid. And what's so nice about the group that we go to, and there's other groups out there where you can have that flexibility and be
It's
more
an open meeting.
and honest. Because for me, and that's what's also very frightening, and Julie and I both have talked about this, and probably why you felt some apprehension too, is we're outing ourselves. It's, here I am, butt naked. This is me. And there's no backseas. We're out there now.
Right.
And anybody.
For me, being a professional person, this is the first time ever I've exposed, as me and Peter talk about, exposed myself naked in that world. Yeah, it's something I've always kept. Though people knew I went to AA, I didn't go around telling them my story. Do you want to hear my story now?
Yeah, it's not like we have it's just like being gay. We don't hold up our old gay flag everywhere. It's easier these days, but back in the early days, no way.
But I think we have a guy in our nighttime group who is a teacher, and he has a lot to lose. And I think online for him is as much exposure as he wants. And I think it's very safe for him. You don't want to get those waters conflicted.
Well, and you think about when Alcoholics Anonymous originally started, wasn't the thing to be in recovery. That was not
it's a lot cooler now than it was then.
Oh, yeah. Anonymity back then was paramount.
Everything.
Yeah.
So this is my coming out story.
There you go.
And thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm tickled pink.
You are the first guest.
Yes.
We just finished me and Peter's story. Our second guest is coming today as well, but you are the very first guest and the first person about it. Just saying.
So I can do this over though, right?
We might have you back on again.
Exactly.
Check in
We
with
might
you.
have a panel on different subjects or do a round table or something like that. But
I just want to say, from somebody who could not get 1 hour clean and sober, today I have 1 year and 83 days sober.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can do it. And not being so overwhelmed by the whole process, I think, like we say, one step at a time. It can be 1 minute at a time. I apply that principle to everything in my life. If I have a project, client wants me to, I apply that one day. Break it down to little bit by little bit, and then eventually,
It's done.
You've got all that
well,
time.
and that's why it's progress, not perfection. And I literally sometimes just make simple goals for the day. You know what I mean? It might be just so you don't get overwhelmed in your brain. You might do a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's the same with me at work. I have a list and I just start here and get to number 42. But just start here, take a deep breath and do this well. And I do that in life as well sometimes.
And I think the other thing that another really important point you made in your story was the fellowship, surrounding yourself in your life with others.
We went to this last weekend, we went to a speakers meeting / drag queen show. There were 8 of us from my home group. We all sat together. We all were like cheering each other on.
Huh?
We had our crew there. Yeah, our crew was there.
How fun is that?
Colette always says I roll with my crew.
Yeah, she's got her 7-year-old crew.
And speaking of fellowship and doing things together, we're going to be at Sober Seaside. Is it Seaside Sober or Sober Seaside?
North Coast Roundup, April 12th, 13th, and 14th in Seaside, Oregon.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to
the
that.
website is soberandseaside.org.
Oh, yeah, Sober and Seaside.
I'm actually looking forward to it, though. Last year, when Colette was newer to our group, she announced it for 4 months. And every time I cringed, because that's when I was sentenced to prison. And I was like, girl, I cannot wait till you go to this conference so you can stop announcing it. And then this year she said, why don't you make new memories on this date?
Hey, there you go.
And here we are launching our podcast. So it's a pretty big new memory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks again.
Yes, of course. Thank you guys.
Colette and Julie is playing with her mic. So,
like usual.
And this is Peter D. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks to each and every one of you for lending us your ears and hearts. Your engagement is what fuels our passion and keeps this podcast thriving.
We cherish the moments we share here and hope they resonate with you, whether you're on a daily commute, at the gym, or just taking a moment for yourself.
Make sure to head over to our website at realrecoverypodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter for the latest insights and uplifting stories from our community delivered straight to your inbox.
Click that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player too, so you can keep up with every new episode. It's your support that keeps our conversation alive and meaningful.
And if our stories have touched you, consider using the donate button on our site. Your contributions, no matter the size, are deeply appreciated. They help us continue our mission of sharing hope and healing.
Join us beyond the podcast and follow our journey on social media. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and on X, formerly known as Twitter. All the links are on our site, so you can stay connected and be a part of the Real Recovery community every day.
Your likes, shares, and comments not only spread the message of recovery, but also remind us that we're all in this together.
So, until we meet again, remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination, and we'll be here to accompany you every step of the way to recovery, real recovery.
Thanks for listening.